Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
My anus is bleeding.
He can't sit down.
They call them dumps, big massive dumps.
Got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Beta male.
Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Don't you ever do that. Don't you ever do that. I tell you, don't do it.
Oops.
We're under attack. It is an alien force, not of this world. It's not human intelligence.
Bullshit.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
Bullshit.
It's not a salami sandwich.
Disappointed!
Repeat the line.
Disappointed!
How you like that, boy?
No.
Give me a break.
Stop it.
Fired.
Fired! Fired!
Bitch, move it along.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Woke.
Woke mob.
Around the nation. Waldo Nation. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. It's Friday. Fun. And yes, we are going to have a fun Friday. We are going to have teachers pushing back against the anti-LGBTQ nonsense in Florida, of all places. Yes, you're going to love that story. You're going to love the video from this very contentious school board meeting. I know, school board meetings are now the stuff of legends, where you see all sorts of amazing stuff happening. It's going to be great. You're going to enjoy it. We then, of course, are going to talk about, well, I guess quite a few school-related stories. Then we're going to get to the trucker protests. A trucker protest we can get behind. Fun. I enjoy it. We've got Kari Lake with a new conspiracy, or at least she's spreading it. I don't know if she came up with it, but she's certainly spreading it around, and she's getting checked by conservatives, of all people. And then we're going to talk about student loan debt forgiveness. Republicans decided to, try to stick a finger in the eye of every student borrower. And I'm going to tell you how. Oh, and by the way, they were joined by 3 Democrats. Of course. Oh, I'm sorry. 2 Democrats and 1 independent. Ooh. Yeah, okay. Anyway. Right. So with that, like I said, we're going to have some fun. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Very important that you do so. Okay. Oh. And we're on different platforms. Of course, we're streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So please like in your respective community. There's plenty of them. Okay. With that, let's do it. Let's dive in.
We're accused of trying to turn kids gay, as if that's even possible. I have a hard enough time getting my kids to turn in their homework.
That was one part of a contentious school board meeting in Hernando County, Florida. Teachers ended up squaring off, and not just teachers, but you also have parents, students, squaring off against right-wing members of the school board, as well as their supporters in some of the large conservative groups like Moms for Liberty during a no-confidence vote in the superintendent. So now the teachers and a lot of the students turned out to support the superintendent. This meeting was 8.5 hours long. I kid you not. These school board meetings can run long. I think this one lasted until like 2 a.m. So there were over 100 speakers, which again included students, parents, teachers, activists from the community, and even Proud Boys. Now, many of the people, at least the ones that I support, many of the speakers actually were denouncing right-wing propaganda from some of the groups that did have representatives there, like Moms for Liberty, who were claiming that teachers are indoctrinating students to be gay with the
Woke.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what they were saying. Woke, indoctrination, grooming. It's all ridiculous. And I'm going to give you the response from some of the different educators that were in this. I couldn't, get them all. But here's a nice little supercut of teachers that were pushing back.
We know that there are plenty of people, many sitting in here in this room right now, that hold hate in their heart for the LGBTQ community. Why would a teacher want a student to be a victim of hate?
I love my school, and I love the career of education. However, effective a couple weeks ago, I have resigned from my position. I'm leaving because I feel the board is more interested in removing pride flags and banning literature than they are in protecting us educators. I'm leaving because I don't feel that I can adequately provide a safe environment for my students anymore. I'm leaving because I refuse to work for an organization that sees supporting kids for who they are as indoctrination. I'm leaving because I refuse to teach fabricated history that prioritizes a nationalistic narrative before an accurate one. The attempts to sanitize this profession to fit a political bias is what is causing my departure.
As a public educator, my students and families should never know my political views because it is not my job to groom them. The fact that someone has accused teachers of grooming children is appalling and makes me want to throw up.
Seeing a gay pride flag in a classroom does not teach your child to be gay. I am a U.S. history teacher, and I am proud to be an American. As an American and an educator, I have the right and the responsibility to acknowledge the truths of our history. All of them.
Teachers do not indoctrinate students with our beliefs. I'm putting this on the record. We do not indoctrinate students. Florida is 47th in literacy in the U.S., with only 80% of our population being considered literate. Teachers do not care if your child is associated with one political party or another. Education is bipartisan. We are not indoctrinating students in any way. Anyone who says otherwise, unfortunately, is uninformed and does not have a direct connection to the public school system. If we can oppose any beliefs on our students, it would be to be kind and respectful to everyone, to put their phones away, please, and to turn in their work on time, please. Nothing else, that would be it. Again, anyone who says otherwise is not directly involved with the school system.
And let me add, listening to right-wing propaganda that's been debunked over and over again. Anybody remember the, cat litter in the classrooms for the students who had identified as cats? That's not real, never happened. Now, that said, there is a reason for cat litter in the classrooms. And by the way, I don't have a video for it, but there were a lot of teachers in watching this, not just teachers, but parents as well, that noted that in Florida, which Governor Ron DeSantis just signed a bill to deregulate guns even further, guns are a big problem. And that is one reason why cat litter is in some classrooms, to clean up the blood if there's a mass shooter. And by the way, it's not just that, it's also used along with sawdust and other things to clean up things like vomit. But anyway, but that's one of the horrifying reasons that you would have cat litter in the classrooms that right-wingers don't seem to mind. They don't really seem to care about. But if it has anything to do with the possibility of trans people, well, then now that's a problem. Except again that it's not real. There's Nobody that's using, no child that's using a litter box as a bathroom in the classroom because they identify as a cat. That's ridiculous. But anyway, I love all the teachers that are pushing back. And again, there's hours and hours of footage that unfortunately I don't have time to show you. But that's just some of the highlights here. Now, according to the Times, as I mentioned before, you had Proud Boys that were there. And of course, they were saying things like, oh, woke indoctrination and all that stuff. You already know the arguments there. Moms for Liberty had a spokesperson there as well. Again, repeating the same bigoted, ridiculous talking points. But again, I always show the ghouls, those terrible people who are saying terrible things. And so I'm not going to really focus on them. I'm more focused on, as I said, the teachers that are pushing back, as well as, again, students that are pushing back. And so, that said, the students and the teachers, the majority of them that spoke, were, again, against the bigotry, and were out there to dispel all of the right-wing nonsense. So, now that's important, right? Especially given how young people, as I said, are very important here in this equation, because right-wingers are fearing the next generation. That's why they want to restrict the things that they learn, restrict the knowledge, ban the books, get rid of all these things, that might open up their minds. Look, Gen Z is already pretty based, and very accepting, and so they're gonna have a problem with that. That's not good politically for right-wingers, especially in this county. Again, if you have a large number of people, who are going to be of voting age very soon, that are already speaking out against Ron DeSantis and his terrible policies, his bigoted policies, that's going to change the makeup of a lot of things, especially the local government. Now, right now, Hernando County is overwhelmingly conservative. It is not a liberal bastion. You wouldn't know it when listening to those people, right? They haven't backed a Democrat for president in over 2 decades. And Ron DeSantis, by the way, carried the county for by over 40 points. So, wow. Yeah. Now, what kicked this entire thing off, though? Before I get to that, just one last point about young people, right? As I said, they're coming of age. They're not a fan of Ron DeSantis and his attacks on the LGBTQ community, and again, banning books and getting rid of those. It's not a good long-term strategy. As I said before, what started this entire meeting, there was a lot of drama that's going on, okay? One teacher, Jenna Barbie, I've covered her before, she had showed a Disney movie that was related to the content that she was teaching. And in this Disney movie, happened to have a gay character. Conservatives flipped out over the gay character, when again, it was just a person that a character that happened to be in the movie and also gay, but wasn't a major, that was not a major plot point of the movie. It wasn't about being gay or discovering being gay or anything like that. No, it's just one component. That's it. And a small one at that. It doesn't matter. Drove people nuts. They complained about the woke, Woke. And the teacher actually ended up having to, she ended up resigning her position. And that's, of course, devastating. This district is already facing a massive teacher shortage. And that's going to get worse. They're losing more and more teachers because of a couple of extremists on their board. About 50 teachers are reportedly planning to resign due to the school's hostile environment. And you heard, again, from a few of them. So I mentioned the 2 extremists, right? One of them is Shannon Rodriguez. She's a Hernando School board member who was endorsed by Moms for Liberty. And she was the one who reported Barbie for showing the Disney film. Both Rodriguez and another board member, Mark Johnson, Johnson's campaign was to get rid of critical race theory, which isn't even taught in K-12 education. He campaigned on this, Oh, and this entire meeting was also about trying to remove Superintendent John Stratton, whom they have accused of supporting indoctrination. But again, a lot of people spoke out in favor of keeping John Stratton, and the board ended up, keeping Stratton. He survived the vote of no confidence. One board member, Susan Duvall, said, "You could never find a better superintendent." So right-wingers did not have their day, and that's good. So now look, this is one example of the fights that are going on in school boards all across the country right now. It's Pride Month, and we've not seen the attacks on LGBTQ people reach such a height in years and years. So, and of course, it continues to get worse and worse. Trans, gay people, bisexuals, everyone is being targeted right now, along with cis women as well, and stripping of their bodily autonomy, and trans men as well. And so, look, this is happening all across the country. The far right is attacking both education, and I think that's an important component of this, to try to eliminate public education by accusing everyone involved in it of being groomers, and then trying to destroy it from the inside out. That's your famous, infiltration tactic. And then, of course, you also have them attacking LGBTQI plus people. And maybe they're using that as a vehicle to dismantle public education, given how, they're pretty good planners when it comes to, for example, abortion, getting rid of Roe. That was a decades-long process. And they chipped away at it. And maybe this, since it's not a really good, vehicle for getting votes, since it's so incredibly unpopular, passing all these bills to target trans people, well, it could be used as a vehicle to try to dismantle public education. I mean, that is incredibly scary. Now, the thing is, though, getting back to it, to the argument here, the fact that gay and trans people exist is not indoctrination. It's not. It's just reality. You don't go. You don't turn people gay by having them read a book. Okay. The teachers, by the way, they're not teaching about that. They're not teaching about gender ideology. It's not part of any particular curriculums. It's literally just the acknowledging the existence of gay and trans people, and having respect for the existence of another human being. And showing that you support them by putting up a flag. That's really it. That's all it is. The right wing does not want to respect other human beings. They don't want teachers to teach facts and history. And at the end of the day, they want to eliminate LGBTQIA plus people from existence. Michael Knowles literally just came out and said it. They're saying it openly now. It's Nazi stuff. And of course, in Florida, that's been having a huge effect because Ron DeSantis has a lot of power. A lot of Republicans in the government are supporting his bills, passing them through. And it's gotten to the point where a lot of LGBTQIA plus people who have the means, are leaving the state. They're trying to flee the state. And of course, not everyone can do that because that takes money. Some people do not have the means to be able to uproot and relocate. And so they're stuck in this absolute dystopian hell. And the ones who are still there, they're afraid. A lot of them are afraid to speak up. One non-LGBTQ plus student told LGBTQ Nation that terrified queer students are learning to, quote, shut up and keep their head low as a result of what's going on here in Florida. So that said, I have one more video. I have a video of a student here, one of many, again, who did speak up on this, and she was absolutely unafraid. Take a look.
If you haven't noticed, times have changed. People are starting to finally accept the LGBTQ plus community, BLM movements, and other movements that stand for inclusiveness. And I know since many of us are so patriotic, let me restate the Pledge of Allegiance for everyone. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Justice for all is what I hear when the pledge is said on the school announcement every morning. I think to myself, what justice? How is teachers' jobs getting threatened by a pride flag justice? How are students fearing to be themselves justice? How is Black Lives Matter flag not justice? If this isn't justice, please tell me what is, because obviously we're reading from different dictionaries. If you think what is happening in our county and all over the state is what America is supposed to stand for. Indoctrination is another word that we've been hearing a lot. And the definition of indoctrination is the process of teaching a person or group to accept the beliefs. So everyone being treated equally is now just a belief and not a basic human right. People all over this district and state are using this word and not knowing the fear and frustration that it is causing among students and staff. At the end of this meeting today, I hope you all leave with an enlightened mind of what the true definition of justice and indoctrination is and what needs to be done from the perspective of the students and teachers who should have the biggest say, as it's our reality every single day. We're tired of the talking and conversing. We need action. Myself and my peers will not stop until something is done. Thank you for your time, and I hope something is taken from this speech.
I took something from that. The kids, they're not only all right, but the kids are hella based. The future looks bright. I love it. That was an excellent note to end that on. And by the way, I love how she actually did the real Pledge of Allegiance. The one that, wasn't butchered by them adding religious, religious language into it. So good. Gotta wear shades. Then I wouldn't be able to see. Banning books, you're banning people. You're just who's just DeSantis? What are you talking about? That's a weird comment. Okay. Anyway, let's move on to Utah. Bigots in Utah effed around, and now they are finding out. According to a new report, a Utah school district has decided to remove the Bible from elementary and junior high school libraries after a parent used their own law, the state's own law, to complain about it. So now, again, a parent challenged the religious text under a state law banning pornographic or indecent material in schools, which again, mostly used against the LGBTQI plus community, and of course, against any discussions about black people, indigenous people, etc. Oops, oh no, look, it got turned against me. Oh no.
Oh no!
All right. So now a committee appointed by the Davis School District to review challenged books did determine that the Bible does not contain sensitive material. I'll disagree about that. Under Utah's criminal code defining pornographic and harmful materials. However, Davis School District's Director of Communications, Christopher Williams, confirmed that it is going to be removed from elementary and junior high schools. And so, there you go. It will remain on high school library shelves only. Apparently, it is not age appropriate. Sad. Now, the committee, again, decided to retain the book in school library circulation at the high school level based on the age appropriateness due to vulgarity or violence. Did they miss all the stuff about sex that's in the Bible? There's lots of it. Song of Solomon. Might want to look it up. But, clear your browser history afterwards. Whew.
Sexual anarchy.
You know what I'm saying.
Resurrection is about the people.
Okay, enough of that. So now the law used to remove this is Utah's HB 374, which requires public K through 12 schools to remove books containing pornographic or indecent material. And when you know it, again, the Bible, as I mentioned before, happened to contain a lot of that. So a lot of people have pointed this out, especially the parent that complained, but a lot of parents have noticed this. A lot of teachers have noticed this. A lot of lefties have noticed this. In fact, one Florida resident who was speaking during a recent school board meeting put it like this.
If keeping children innocent is the goal, I suggest this board remove the Bible from the board's approved materials list because it's loaded with stories of cruelty and violence, rape, murder, vengeance and wrath, castration, genocide, slaughter, human sacrifice, dismemberment, sexual violence, enslavement, crucifixion, and drowning.
Yeah, that would basically check off every single box of being super inappropriate. Yep. Now, the challenger in Utah had also described the Bible as one of the most sex-ridden books around, and included an 8-page list of passages they said should be considered unacceptable under the law. It's I guess the Bible filled with plenty of
sexual anarchy.
Yep.
Tallywhacker.
Of course. Now, he wrote, the parent did, incest, onanism, bestiality, prostitution, genital mutilation, fellatio, dildos, rape, and even infanticide. The parent, who noted that he had actually read the Bible, so, knows what's in it, had written, "You'll no doubt find that the Bible, under Utah code, and, it's the penal code, whatever, has no serious values for minors because it's pornographic by our new definition." Oh, and I just noticed I said penal code. So, oops.
I like my meat tight. Tighten up my meat.
Okay, anyway, sorry. He continued by saying, "Get this porn out of our schools." If the books that have been banned so far are any indication for way lesser offenses, this should be a slam dunk. Turns out, kind of was. Kinda. Who knew? That said, this apparently keeping it in high schools, not good enough. The committee decision has already been appealed by an individual who wants the Bible to be in all school libraries at all levels. Are you advocating for pornography in our schools? It sounds like you are. I mean, what, you think you should be exempt? Speaking of indoctrination, again, because that's what this whole thing is about, right? No, we got to get the kids, we got to get these books out of the schools and indoctrinate our children with with bad ideas, with wokeism and all that stuff. Well, there's no book in America that has indoctrinated more children than the Bible. Why then is that okay to have in schools? Could it be a double standard? Yeah. Absolutely. However, of course, the sponsor of this piece of legislation to ban the books, Utah State Representative Ken Ivory, yes, Ken Ivory, disagrees. He described the request as a, quote, political stunt that would drain school resources. No, you're draining school resources. You're describing literally your own bill, which was a solution in search of a problem. Books do not make you gay. Books do not make you trans. They simply convey information. They simply convey different perspectives. And that's the real danger to them. A different perspective than your own. You are so afraid that your ideas cannot stand up to the merits from other perspectives that you have to prevent them from ever being seen. You know what we call that? We call that a safe space. When you ban the books and you lie about what's in the books and accuse teachers of grooming, you're admitting that you have lost. You can't defend your ideas in the free marketplace of ideas and also resort to censorship. So that's what you're doing. You know you're going to lose that argument, and so just ban the books. That's what they're doing. All right. Apparently, Jonathan Leiter's very mad at me today, and I am not sure why. The difference between Chick-fil-A's pinkwashing and Target protecting staff by removing / moving items in their stores. Okay. I'll have to look into that. Again, I'm not sure why people are mad, but okay, I'll look into it. Tuesday's show. Tuesdays. Where I criticize Target for, where I criticize Target for protecting staff by removing and moving items in their stores. I don't have a problem with then, actually protecting their staff. I have no problem with protecting staff. I think that's a good thing. Workers deserve to be protected. But Target needs to hire more security for people, not remove LGBTQI plus displays. Is there something about Target that I missed here? Because again, absolutely, they all do rainbow capitalism. All of them. And I just think Target hasn't been standing by the LGBTQI plus community as much as they should. Bowing to, the hateful mob. And maybe I'm wrong about that, and that's why I'm going to look into it. And see, if maybe there's something that I missed.
Latin American truckers are calling for a boycott of the state of Florida. A call has gone out on social media for truck drivers to stop delivering or working with the state. Republican Governor Ron DeSantis has signed legislation cracking down on undocumented immigrants. The new rules implement tougher penalties. Other rules have cut services for people in the country illegally. DeSantis implemented the rules after the Title 42 policy ended at the U.S.-Mexico border. The new law will go into effect on July 1st. Posts calling for a boycott of the state went viral as soon as DeSantis signed the law. Immigration advocates say the new laws target the already vulnerable population in the state.
So, truckers in Florida, as you saw from that report, have actually staged a statewide day of protest against this racist bill, SB 1718. Now, the measure would require employers with more than 25 employees to use an E-Verify system to verify the worker's legal status, and impose penalties for violations, bars undocumented people from practicing law, and forbids local governments from issuing community IDs to undocumented people. The law also forbids transporting undocumented migrants into the state of Florida. So now, people who violate that law face a fine up to $10,000 and 15 years in prison. Yes, for having an undocumented person in your car in Florida. That's insanity. Now, as a result, immigrant truckers had protested, and there were protests over the last few days. that happened in 6 cities. On Thursday, it was Orlando to Jacksonville, Fort Myers, and other places. That statewide day of action also had been inspired by social media posts by Latino truckers who in mid-May called on their fellow drivers to boycott Florida on June 1st. So that was, again, on Thursday. I regret not putting, not covering this earlier. This is awesome. This is like hella based, and I love it. And I love that not only, again, immigrant truckers, because it's immigrant truckers refusing to deliver goods in and out of Florida because of this, disastrous law. And I also love the fact that they're using labor in order to do it, showing how important both labor as well as immigrant labor is to not only Florida, but to the country overall. That's awesome. Now, this was according to Philippe Souza, executive director of the Hope Community Center, which serves 16,000 immigrant families per year. This was an organic movement started by workers. So, look, a lot of this happened on Latino Twitter, Latino TikTok, where there were truckers were posting videos saying, we're not going to deliver in and out of Florida because of this incredibly stupid racist law that Ron DeSantis is going to sign. And of course, he did end up signing it. He also says, the law was instated not because it was good for Florida or because it was good for immigrants. Souza himself, a Brazilian immigrant, told Orlando Weekly, it was only good for a few people's political career. Well, I mean, without having to say names, he basically called out Ron DeSantis because, hey, he's running for president. Good old Puddin' Ron, or Meatball Ron, whichever one you prefer. Part of his campaign has been him demonstrating in Florida, since he took power, how cruel he could be to LGBTQI plus people and now immigrants. But it's not just DeSantis. I mean, yeah, he can't act alone. He's also got the Florida Republican Party that are putting these horrible bills onto his desk, and he's gleefully signing them. So it's pretty horrifying. The Orlando demonstration on Thursday was also staged outside of the office of Florida Representative Carolina Amnesty, an Orlando Bay area Republican who voted in favor of this new immigration law. Now, Amnesty is a immigrant with Venezuelan heritage. Okay, so I know I have to.
In Venezuela.
She campaigned on targeting, big surprise, socialism, and illegal immigration. Bit ironic. She has defended her position on the legislation. She is just one of many Florida Republicans that have helped DeSantis in his cruelty. So, now, a lot of the reason, I should say a reason a lot of truckers are involved, again, as I mentioned, a lot of immigrants drive truck. I mean, they're really important. They're actually, immigrants make up a quarter of Florida's entire workforce, and half of that works in agriculture. So they're really, really important to, again, Florida's economy, and not just Florida's, but the United States economy. So it's really super ridiculous that you have Republicans that continue to target the immigrant community. Now, as I mentioned before, one of the most important parts of this that is, again, incredibly just dystopian and horrifying, you can get in trouble for giving an undocumented immigrant a ride. Well, a lot of people who are here, I should say a good percentage of people who are here illegally also have undocumented family members. So they may have, their legal papers. They may be documented, but it doesn't mean members of their family are. So you're giving your grandma a ride, to the store or to a doctor's appointment, and you get caught in Florida. I mean, $10,000 fine and possibly up to 15 years in prison. That's horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. And that's what Souza says. This bill would make them a felon if they drive their mom or auntie or grandmother or sibling for a simple road trip. Another big concern is a provision of the bill that required hospitals to receive state and federal Medicaid dollars to track how much money is being spent on caring for people who are undocumented, which means, of course, they're going to ask their legal status. Why does that matter when you are getting health care? It shouldn't matter, but it is a way to single out and other poor people who need health care. And it has a chilling effect, deterring undocumented people from seeking treatment for illness or injury, just like they're already frozen out of going to police when there is a crime that happens to them. I mean, this is a group of people that are afraid to go to the police when they are victimized, and they often are victimized. They can't go to police because, well, they're going to arrest me for being undocumented, and I'm going to be deported and then lose everything. So it's absolutely inhumane. These laws that are being passed against immigrants, literally criminalizing them for just being here. But that's the point. A lot of these Republican laws have the effect of criminalizing people for existing. Criminalizing, again, undocumented immigrants for literally existing, criminalizing trans people for existing, criminalizing gay people for existing. I mean, that's really what it's about. It's not about. It's not really about jobs. It's not about the economy. It's not about, the taxpayer resources. No, this is all based on one thing: white supremacy. It's simple as that. All this anti-immigrant, anti-LGBT, all this stuff is linked to white supremacy. Great replacement theory. Which is just, again, a ridiculous conspiracy. Now, the good thing is, though, people are pushing back. And Florida, again, residents of Florida, I don't think get enough credit because they are fighting back. You do see this happen. You're seeing teachers that are fighting back. You're seeing truck drivers, immigrants that are fighting back. And I think it's important to highlight these voices, but also to support them, to help get out their message that there are people, there are progressives, there are good people that are fighting in Florida against Ron DeSantis and his, fascism is what it is. Now, the statewide day of action also came after an estimated 3,000 people rallied last week in Homestead, a city in South Florida that formerly housed an ICE detention facility. Some had described Thursday's statewide day of action as a boycott or strike and called on workers to withhold their labor for the day in solidarity with immigrant communities, and there were businesses that did so. Multiple businesses in Central Florida, for example, reportedly shut their doors in solidarity with the call for action. And again, this is what I love to see. Now, there are places that did not because they didn't support this, but the thing that we need to remember as leftists as well is not everybody can afford to do direct action. I know it direct action is difficult, and it needs to be done. And at the same time, what people need is help to support that direct action, doing these strikes. That's why mutual aid is so incredibly important for people who are out there on the front lines fighting the good fight. Direct actions like this, direct actions like strikes, are not easy to organize. And, they cost people a lot of, basically an inability to pay the bills and their rent and things like that. And so it's very difficult to do so, but it's so, so very important. And that's why, again, mutual aid for these groups and communities and people that are fighting back is so incredibly important. And look, part of that problem with organization, too, comes from the actions of right-wing politicians. Both Democrats and Republicans, by the way. Look, the Supreme Court just had an 8-1 ruling in favor of a company that sued the union because the union went on strike. And, this was a cement company. These were cement workers. They left, they went to go on strike because negotiations fell through. They left their trucks running so that the cement did not harden. The company says, well, the cement hardened anyway. You ruined our equipment and you did it on purpose. And so we're going to sue you. It went up to the Supreme Court, despite the NLRB ruling that it was not a malicious destruction of property. You had 8 justices, 8, including the liberal justices, that sided with the giant corporation in a way to crush unions, to destroy labor. The only one that dissented was Ketanji Brown Jackson. So Sotomayor, Kagan sold out to the corporations, sided with them, and this is what's going on. This is why it is so difficult in this country for people to be able to unionize, to be able to get together with their labor, withhold their labor, because of these laws. That's why mutual aid is so incredibly important to support these workers who are, being attacked, who are having their ability to withhold labor taken away from them. Workers in Florida in the public sector have already had their ability to strike taken away. And they could lose their jobs and job credentials if they dare to go on strike. And apparently many private sector union contracts, including contracts covering Disney, who was fighting with Ron DeSantis, they prohibit striking as well. So that's what's going on here. Labor is so incredibly important. I love seeing direct action like this happen. And I think it's the only way that we're going to be able to fight back against fascists. We can't count on Congress. We can't count on the courts. Direct action. Take it to the streets. Take it to the people in a peaceful way. Yeah, it wasn't even 6-3. Yeah. Horrible. Okay. All right. So, let's do it. Kari Lake. Perpetual loser Kari Lake can't seem to get enough of conspiracy theories. On Friday, she used her social media account to promote one that even a lot of Republicans not buying. Posting on Twitter early on Friday morning, Lake composed a message that simply said, "Read this thread," and had a thread of just complete and utter nonsense. Linked to a series of Twitter posts filled with false claims about voting in California, basically saying that Donald Trump had won California. Could you imagine Donald Trump winning California? What? Now, the thread begins again by claiming that President Joe Biden in 2020 only won in the San Francisco Bay Area, where the rest of the state, including LA, voted for Donald Trump. What is going on here? Let me show you the electoral map of California in the 2020 election. Yeah, I don't know. That looks like there's more blue there. It's certainly not all Trump. I mean, Biden won 63.48% of the popular vote in California. What's Kari Lake talking about? Nonsense. Insanity. And that's not just me saying it's fellow Republicans. George Andrews, who currently serves as chief of staff to Republican California State Assemblyman Tom Lackey, wrote this, quote, "This is a whole new level of wackadoodle. Not worth wasting precious kilobytes and battery power arguing over it. just pointing it out for pure entertainment. Yes, she is now a punchline for Republicans. Fun. Conservative commentator Ryan James Gudersky said this: "If you believe this tweet thread, you should not be in politics. You're too gullible to even buy a car on your own." Forget buying a car. I'm not sure how Kari Lake is able to tie her own shoes. I'm not saying she's not physically or mentally capable of doing so. No, I think she's perfectly capable. The thing that I have, the contention I guess that I have, my own little conspiracy theory, is that she believes that shoes are maybe, you know, or could be some sort of...
in Venezuela.
Like a Venezuelan plot to block your connections to the natural vibrations of the earth or something. And somehow that's bad. I don't know. It's almost that comical because remember, a lot of the election fraud claims in 2020 are complete and utter crackpot theories. Yes, crackpot theories. One of them went to basically Sidney Powell, and she repeated it, and it went to Maria Bartiromo, and believed by a lot of people on the right wing. It came from a woman who believes that she spoke to the wind. Wind. And the wind told her that, you know, Hugo Chavez, the ghost of Hugo Chavez, helped Joe Biden rig the Dominion machines so that he could win the election over Donald Trump. And that somehow acquiring this knowledge led to the internal decapitation. I'm not quite sure how that story goes. But it's basically weirdo nonsense. Comical. Now, the real comedy, though, is what this could lead to. Conservative attorney A.G. Hamilton pointed out that her conspiracy theory might end up leading to her getting sued. Oops. Kari Lake is now promoting an insane conspiracy thread claiming CA is secretly red and only seems blue because of voter fraud using Dominion and Smartmatic machines, he wrote. Aside from being easily disprovable nonsense, this is a good way to get added to lawsuits by those companies. I love how all of this criticism is coming from from the right wing. They're looking at Kari Lake and going, "Are you fucking serious right now? Are you serious right now? No, nope, not gonna do it. Nope, not interested. She's a nutbag." Well, thank goodness. But imagine, for you, if you will, for a moment, Kari Lake going from not only multiple loser of the gubernatorial election, because every time that her case gets thrown out, it counts as a loss, and you know, Katie Hobbs wins the governorship again. Multiple time loser. Imagine her going from that to now also multiple loser of a gubernatorial election to being to a loser of a defamation lawsuit. Hey, if you want to go in that direction, I mean, have at it. I keep taking them L's. At some point, they're going to get very expensive. The best L's. The greatest L's. Tremendous L's. June is Pride Month, so try and be even more gay.
We have to keep our country gay.
Yes. But unfortunately, I will have to leave you out with some bad news. I know. After passing a debt ceiling deal that codifies the end of the student loan repayment pause, Senate Republicans, along with corporate Democrats, decided to try to stick it to students one last time. A measure which passed the House along party lines last week and just passed by the Senate, repeals Biden's modest student loan forgiveness plan, which forgives $10,000 to $20,000 if you have Pell Grants in student loan debt. So it's a little bit of relief. Would also, again, immediately end the pause on repayment. But if that's not bad enough, the measure also retroactively adds in the interest that has been paused on the payments, basically taking your balance and shooting it back up for just no apparent reason. Because, of course, as I mentioned, this passed 52 to 46, 2 Democrats and 1 independent senator voting with Republicans. You're not going to be surprised who they are. One of them is Senator Joe Manchin. The other one, Senator John Tester, and the independent is former Democratic Senator Kyrsten Sinema. Shocker. Shocker. Manchin, in his statement, said he voted to overturn the president's plan because the country cannot afford to add another $400 billion to its national debt. Well, then maybe you should, stop voting for military increases every single frickin' year. Wouldn't that be nice? You seem to always have more and more money for defense contractors and, oil companies and coal companies, fossil fuel subsidies. Oh, that's right, because you're a coal baron. Oh, yeah, you take that money, you take that public money, taxpayer money, you stuff it in your pocket, and that's okay. Okay. But when it comes to student loan debt relief for students that have been signed into predatory loans at high interest rates for education that in some cases was incredibly predatory, or at least didn't lead to the types of jobs and the type of pay to be able to afford to pay off those loans. Apparently, they're screwed, screw them, but help the oil companies and the coal companies, because they're the ones who really need the money. No, F off. Manchin also says that the policy forces hardworking taxpayers who have already paid off their loans or did not go to college to shoulder the cost. So on that logic, we can't do anything that makes people's lives better in the future. Because it didn't have an effect on somebody in the past. So you can't lower the price of prescription drugs, for example, now, because it's super sky high. By the way, it's an incredibly popular policy allowing Medicare to negotiate prescription drug prices because they are too high. Oh, but we can't do that because somebody else had to pay more. So we can't lower the price of insulin, for example, because somebody else had to pay higher for insulin. It's just not fair to them. It's not fair. I mean, the same thing can apply to healthcare. You can't lower the cost of healthcare because, somebody before had to pay more for their healthcare, for their health insurance. So I guess we can't ever make anyone's life better at all because someone's life before just sucked. Now, I love how they apply that argument to student loan debt relief, but never when it comes to things like corporate profits or subsidies. Once again, subsidies that go to businesses that don't actually need it. Right now, the American people are dealing with greedflation. There are things that, things cost a lot more now than they used to, not just because it takes more money to, manufacture and ship, supply chain issues and things like that. Not just because of that, because, that's a real thing. It happened in the pandemic. It's not just that, though. They took that, and yes, they increased their price on that, and then they decided, why waste this opportunity to, pick your pocket? And we're just going to add even more costs on top of that so that, we can take the extra money and, again, stick it in our pockets. That's it. Wait, why do we have to pay more? Again, not only are we eating the extra cost, but we're also eating an extra cost for you to be able to put additional profits into your pocket. This is after a lot of these same corporations took billions of dollars in PPP loans, which they do not have to pay back if they had met certain conditions. Okay. That, they took that money when they didn't need it and used it to buy back their own stock and give executive bonuses. Many places even laid off much of their staff. And yet you had a lot of these same companies, massively profitable, even throughout the pandemic, didn't exactly need it, but still somehow qualified, buying back their own stock. And even if they had to repay it, the money that they made back in inflating their stock prices, well, they ended up getting a massive profit. What about also interest rates? You can talk about interest rates. When you have interest rates for student loans being very, very high compared to corporations that are able, and banks, to be able to go and borrow from the Federal Reserve this money at very, very incredibly comically low interest rates, at least for quite a long time. Does that sound fair? Wait, I thought, and let's also go to corporations or some companies that do bankruptcy, firing their entire staff, but then, leaving with a golden parachute. Now, a lot of these companies, they go bankrupt, they have loans. They don't have to pay their loans. No. They liquidate their company and then, again, retire with the golden parachute, get a gigantic, massive payout while everyone else gets screwed. They don't have to pay back their loans, but we have to pay back ours on predatory student loans. Again, in order to get jobs that, in a lot of cases, now no longer pay enough to justify the costs, we get no relief. These people are ghouls. And yet, they have the gall to call us the entitled ones. No, there are two separate rules here for student borrowers versus corporate borrowers. People like Donald Trump, who can go bankrupt so many times and become president of the United States and never have to pay back his loans. The whole thing about student loans, though, it is a scam. And there shouldn't be student loans in the first place. Now, the whole thing started because Nixon wanted to price people out of education. He thought there were too many communists, literally, coming out of the colleges.
Pink-haired communists.
So, he did what he could, defunded state schools. Reagan, along with Reagan, defunded schools in California, for example, higher education. The result of that is that tuition began to steadily rise, and to a point where now people had to take out private bank loans to be able to afford college. And it wasn't until the federal government stepped in, eventually, to be able to guarantee loans to people who otherwise would not be able to afford them and did not want to join the military. And take part in, bombing other people, in order to get an education. I can see how that's not appealing. The result of all that, the federal government getting involved, is now these colleges said, we can now get guaranteed loans. So we're just going to raise, our tuition higher and higher and higher. And at the end of the day, it is the students that get mostly screwed. Those students also end up being taxpayers. They want to talk about the taxpayer all the time. Taxpayer, right? Students are also taxpayers. Yeah. And if they're not taxpayers while they're in school, they're going to be taxpayers. And they get stuck with all of this debt, and they're unable to start businesses, create jobs, buy homes, cars, participate in the economy. That's a big problem. Huge problem. Look, again, all of this started is because the right wing hates educated people, hates education, and only wants the well-to-do to get education so that they can stay on top of the economic heap, preventing the younger generations from attaining the American dream. We know that's the cause. So the solution here is not just to do means-tested forgiveness on some portion of student loans. I'll agree with people that argue, hey, look, that's just a Band-Aid. That's not going to fix the problem. Agreed. To fix the problem, you actually have to undo what Reagan and Nixon had done and fully fund state schools and then guarantee tuition-free higher education at public colleges and universities. That's the only way to really fix it. And of course, once you've done that, then do mass debt elimination. Not just a little bit of relief, but wipe out student loan debt completely. Now, one last thing. This will be vetoed by President Biden. At least he said he'll veto this. But at the end of the day, it really shows you their priorities. This is a gigantic middle finger to the millions of Americans, the over 20 million, who had applied and been approved for this, student debt relief. Giant middle finger to them. And it also comes from Democrats. So keep that in mind when you go to vote, especially in places like West Virginia and Arizona. Okay. That's it. That's all I got. Okay. Let's see. Just reading some comments here. Just knock it off. Knock it off with the avocado toast. Yes, that's it. It was avocado toast all along.
My.
Okay. See, I read the super chat from Jonathan Leiter, and again, I will look into that. Again, I still think that Target could do a lot better, and I realize there's harassment, but in order to protect the LGBTQI plus community, you have to stand strong in the face of that harassment. And if you are doing the rainbow capitalism and pink washing, as you were saying, and absolutely Chick-fil-A is doing the same thing. Of course. These are giant corporations. They're all doing pink washing and rainbow capitalism. But if you actually want to be allies, you do have to put your money where your mouth is and protect your workers, not by folding to the, right-wing mob, but actually standing strong and protecting your workers against the right-wing mob. That's the real thing to do. The right thing to do. Okay. So hopefully I'm a little bit more clear on that. Didn't mean to ruffle so many feathers. I agree Target needs to do better, but I don't want employees to get hurt. Nobody does, Bob. Nobody does. That's why, you got to have like security, additional security for people, who are, who are in that store to try to protect these displays. And yes, that means that Target is going to have to spend a little bit of extra money from their profit margins, and to have it reduced a little bit more just to protect people. But you know what? That's a cost. They should. I think that they should. The company should bear that cost in order to, again, if you really want to make a statement and support LGBTQI plus people, then I think that you should put your money where your mouth is. And if you're not going to do so, then then we know that it's just fake support, and you're not really there to support Pride. You might as well just forget about it and take the LGBTQI flag off your logo, and just say we're okay with bigots. Commit to the bit. Yeah. We've seen security does not work. What do you suggest then? I mean, because that's the thing that I think of. how else do you really put a stop to, right-wing weirdos that are going in and threatening people? Like, what do you do? And certainly, I don't think caving to the right-wing mob is the good thing to do either. And again, of course, it does end up with poor employees, in the middle who don't get paid enough to deal with this bullshit. And again, we saw the same kind of bullcrap during the pandemic, where the hero workers, look at that, and then immediately reneging on all the promises and all the assistance and any sort of bonuses or any sort of help for their employees. So we know exactly who these corporations are. They're never going to stand up for their employees, and they're never going to stand up for anything unless they know that they can make a buck on it. So yeah, it's a ridiculous conundrum that we find ourselves in, all as a result of course, right-wing hatred. Okay. Anyway, Chick-fil-A is proud anti-LGBTQ+. Oh yeah, we know. Yeah, and it's not even them like supporting. They just hired a DEI person 2 years ago, and the right wing just found out about it, and it's like, yeah, diversity, equity, inclusion. That's just normal corporate speak, and doesn't really mean anything because again, they've been very on the record of being anti-LGBTQ. So, wasn't trying to say that Chick-fil-A is being better than Target. They are both quite terrible. So.
Oh no!
All right. Well, anyway, hopefully that answered your questions and brought the temperature down in the chat. Is unusually combative today. I'm hurt. Dog. Hurt. Smooth things over. I want the nation to break apart just over this. All right. Anyway, thank you all. Thank you to the Twitch community. Thank you to everyone over on Facebook as well, YouTube, the audience, of course. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here next week. We're going to raid into Lumiru, they, them pronouns. Make sure to remember Lumi is non-binary. Perfect person to raid into today. Everybody, make sure to follow them and, all that wonderful stuff. Have a great weekend. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation.
Sexual anarchy.
No.
Amazing.
Disappointed! It's not a salami sandwich.
Oh yeah.
Peachtree dish.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.
Woke.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.